Guests that are hanging out in studio. We're going to be talking about some events that are coming up this month, and we're going to be telling you why you need to learn about it. I'm going to kick this on the FM. We're going to have some fun. Here we go. Good morning. This is KHEA Radio. It is 9:05. I have guests in studio. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and we're going to have some fun. Hey, good morning. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. What's your name?
Saceia Armstrong.
Saceia. Okay, and then we have another guest.
Good morning, Stephanie Clawson. I'm really happy to be here. Thanks.
All right, and we have someone else as well.
Good morning, Jack Roady, District Attorney for Galveston County.
Okay, so Stephanie, we've talked before, and you're always promoting. You have these causes. What do we have going on today?
Oh, so much. So if you don't know or aren't aware that January is National Human Trafficking Awareness Month, and so there are a lot of organizations who are in the anti-trafficking movement that are doing phenomenal things. And so today, what I really wanted and why I reached out to you was because here's Saceia. She has a really wonderful organization called Providence Outreach Ministries, and the core of what she does is right here in Galveston County. And so we're kind of here, we're promoting her. She has this really great event that's coming up. There's another wonderful event at the end of the month, but I really wanted to bring Saceia in so she has the opportunity to talk about who she is, why she does what she does, who she's reaching. I don't know, she's my friend. and so it is. She's my friend. And but it's just nice, to reach people that have the same heart to serve women like we do. And I don't know. So that's why we're here this morning, kind of putting her on the spotlight now.
Yes. Saceia, so what's the name of your organization and what do we have coming up?
It's Providence Outreach Ministries, and we're calling it Diamonds in the Darkness on Saturday, January 14th. It's being held at Gateway Community Church on Clear Lake Boulevard. Doors open at 5:30. It starts at 6, and I'm 6 to 9. And we have several speakers, like Stephanie is going to be a speaker. Jack is going to be a speaker. Several of our diamonds are going to be speaking, and the diamonds are the girls that has come out of like the dancing, they left dancing. Going to be sharing a little bit of their story, do a Q&A. We have one young lady that she was actually kidnapped here in Lamarck several years ago, twice.
Wow, two times.
2 times.
And I haven't had the opportunity to watch these, but I've seen on Netflix there's a lot of, with the killing fields and what this area up and down 45, and it's getting a lot of national attention, but that's the reality of, I guess it's still happening.
It is.
Right.
Very much so.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people in our community, and that's one thing that it's been challenging, is they don't feel like trafficking or prostitution happens right here in our communities. And so I'm trying to raise awareness with that, and that's part of why we're having the event. Yes,
and we have Galveston County DA Jack Roady here in studio. Jack, can you speak on that? I mean, this stuff is still going on here today?
Well, it is. And a couple of things to really kind of highlight is the kidnapping cases and things like that. When they happen, they're rare. Those are the ones that get the most attention. But really, how trafficking is fed is by traffickers preying upon people who are in at-risk situations and luring them into behavior that they wouldn't normally engage with, and usually that's through drugs and alcohol and things like that, and then coercion and violence. It's progressive. One of the biggest things that, as Saceia was talking about, is raising awareness, is having people be aware that this is going on in their own neighborhoods. The thing to watch out for isn't necessarily someone that's going to come in and steal your daughter out of the bedroom window. Mm-hmm. It's going to be someone who's going to come in and prey upon her through a relationship and grooming, essentially, to try and lure her away from people who care about her into a lifestyle where she can be trafficked and abused.
You mentioned something about at-risk situations, or I guess more prone to it. What does that mean?
Yeah, well, actually, somebody pointed out to me, a lot of times we talk about at-risk youth, and really that's not the right word. It's really youth who are in at-risk situations. And those are kids who don't have stable homes, who don't have a close circle of friends around them that they feel protected in, and are looking for someone to fill that family role or that father role or that friend role. And so you have people who will come in and prey upon those vulnerabilities and lure them into using drugs and alcohol and doing things they wouldn't normally do. And that's how traffickers work. is they look for people who have those vulnerabilities and then lure them away from a safe environment into an at-risk.
So January 14th, that's going to be the event, and you can find out information, provom.org.
Yes.
So that's providenceoutreachministries.org.
Kind of, yeah.
As
shortened
well.
version.
Yeah. Stephanie, why is it important for you to get involved in these?
Yeah, well, gosh, my husband and I first started about 7 years ago, but we've known Saceia since about 2014, and she came to a church that we were going to and kind of presented. I do this outreach. I go to illicit massage parlors. I go to strip clubs. I meet with the women. We give them gifts. We talk with them. We pray with them. And there was just something in it, it pierced my heart. And it was just something, because it's like one of those things, once you know it exists, you have two choices. Either you can ignore it, and a lot of people do, or you can do something about it. And so my husband and I decided to do something about it. And we started getting involved in Providence Outreach and some organizations up in Houston, and really just started doing awareness, education, prevention, legislation, helping with law enforcement, connecting law enforcement with the right types of resources. And because our heart is education. And really, if people are educated on what's going on, then they're more empowered to make better decisions, not only for themselves, but for their families. And Jack was exactly right. It's the grooming process. And so my husband and I, about 3 years ago, produced a short film called Groomed, and you can find it on YouTube. And it's kind of like a step-by-step process. And the film shows what happens is that this young lady who has a good family or a good friend group and a caring mother, and she gets befriended online, and she starts kind of getting wooed online. She starts getting gifts given to her, and you see this deterioration of her life happen until she sends a nude photo to this person. Now you're talking about sextortion. People are like, what is sextortion? And it's when a nude photo is being used to manipulate you or deceive you, thinking that if I don't do what this person says to do, they're going to send this photo to everybody that I care about. And then you're talking about shame, you're talking about embarrassment. And so the film just walks us through literally like step one, befriend. And that's what happens. So and I think Jack made a good point as well, is yes, we shouldn't let our kids run around, and not watch them. But I was grown up in the 80s, and it was that, be careful, stranger danger, at the mall, and you had to be really careful. But traffickers they're not going to expose themselves like that. There's cameras everywhere. Everybody has a phone. There's cameras everywhere. They don't have to drive up and snatch a kid. They can simply go online, find those vulnerabilities. And I don't know about Saceia, but I remember when I was about 15 or 16, and nobody understood me, right? I wanted to dye my hair purple, and I wanted to do this, and my parents wouldn't let me. Hey, Mom, hey, Dad. And, and I couldn't wait till I turned 18 so I could be out on my own and do what I wanted. And so I'd call my friend, right, on that phone that's hooked to the wall. They have to go boop, 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 boop. And then call my friend and be like, I'm tired of this. Can't wait till I turn 18. I'm too fat. I'm too tall. I'm too thin. Whatever my vulnerability was at that time. I was one of 8 kids. That is also a vulnerability in itself. But now what's happening, like back then when I hung up the phone, my vulnerabilities ended there, right? It wasn't broadcasted unless my friend told everybody, but it wasn't broadcasted. But now what's happening, same vulnerabilities, same 15, 14-year-old girls with the same issues I had, but now they're going on social media and they're saying the same things, and they're hitting post. And that's going out to thousands of people that they don't even know. And now they're getting the replies, oh, you're beautiful, right? And to a 14-year-old girl, oh my gosh, I'm beautiful. Now they start interacting. Now they start befriending one another and walking through this isolation and all these things from people that care about this young lady. And so my heart is just to bring that education, that awareness of like parents, like it is okay to parent. Like it is okay to be in your kid's business. It's okay to go through their room. It's okay. And a lot of parents are like, oh, I want to give my kids space. They don't need space right now, not in the culture, because the America that I grew up in, right? That small town, the 2100. We were just talking about this before we went live. We didn't have a stoplight. We didn't have fast food. I lived in this small northern Idaho farm town. That America doesn't exist any longer.
Well, your neighbor watched out for us then, too.
Yes.
If we did something wrong,
yeah.
Boy, nowadays neighbors don't look.
No. And so that America that we were all were grown up in, it doesn't exist any longer. And so we have to adapt. We have to stay relevant, and parents have to really be a lot more I don't know, in their kids' business.
Yeah, I saw a clip the other day that we have to market. You see something, you say something. It's like, why do we even have to market that? It should be that's common sense, but now it's more like people, I want to mind my own business, just keep my head down. If something's happened over there, it doesn't concern me.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But I remember as a kid, man, if you acted up in public and someone had to reprimand you, you were reprimanded by that person in public, and then you got it at home. And so, but nowadays no one says anything, and nowadays we just live in this culture of like, oh, that's their problem, I'm not going to get involved in that. But
yeah,
it leads to issues.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing is, with the cell phone, if the kids are teenagers or now kids are, you almost have to give them a cell phone just because they're young. But, you mentioned checking the room, but, checking their phone and their devices and making sure everything is good.
Wild. And so the whole, because I'm a parent, I said so, that just doesn't work. That doesn't create a culture of communication, and it doesn't create a culture of trust. And so it's sitting down with the child, because you're handing them this phone that gives them access to every single bit of information known to man. And we have parents that just hand their child a phone and say, good luck. But they don't sit down and say, this is what could happen.
Make good choices. Well, not necessarily.
Yeah, and you're saying that to a 9-year-old who doesn't even know how to cut up their own food, giving them this phone, and being like, wish you well. And really what it is, it's parents becoming knowledgeable on truly what is on that phone, how easy it is to access pornography, either being sought out or accidentally. The average age of exposure to pornography is about 9. And so when we say average, that means it's lower and higher. And a lot of it is accidental. And so, because you could type in kind of anything and it pulls up all sorts of stuff. So it's just parents being able to sit down, have that uncomfortable conversation with their child. It's horribly uncomfortable to talk about these things. But once that child sees that the parent cares or is knowledgeable, you start creating that communication in your house, and you'll see a different dynamic happen.
So, last year, Mr. Roady, I guess there was a bust, or what is Galveston County doing whenever it comes to human trafficking? What's going on?
Yeah, so people talk about human trafficking, and they think that all human trafficking exists, and we talked about it before, where someone abducts a person and then puts them into trafficking. Well, that's not really how it happens most often. And so one of the ways that Texas has given law enforcement a tool to go after traffickers is by enhancing the punishment for people who would go out and purchase sex at prostitution arrangements. And so Saceia's organization works to target's not the right word, to reach out to and minister to the victims of human trafficking, to try and help them get out of a lifestyle that they're in where they can be trafficked. Another approach to that is, on the law enforcement side, is going and trying reducing the demand. And essentially we are having targeted efforts to go after consumers, basically people who would go and solicit prostitutes. And thanks to the internet, the ability to do that has become so much easier because the internet is anonymous. And so what we see most often is men, and it's usually men, going online to escort services and to various websites and arranging to meet a prostitute and purchase sex. And so that's now a felony. And so we work with law enforcement agencies to conduct undercover operations so that when these men go online to purchase a young girl or a young boy or whatever they want to do, it turns out that it's cop. And so we charge them with felonies. Their names appear in the paper. And the ability for them to go out and feed into this cycle that promotes trafficking is hopefully going to be reduced and disrupted. I'm glad the legislature enhanced the penalty. I would tell anybody listening that when you hear people talk about prostitution, well, nobody's hurt in that, and it's the oldest profession and all that stuff that we hear, to correct that view, because we're no longer talking about the movie Pretty Woman, right? It's no longer a victimless crime. It feeds into the trafficking industry, and it escalates the level of violence that's involved in that. And so when people start to dismiss prostitution cases as something they're not concerned about, people who know should educate them that prostitution is not a victimless crime. It feeds right into the trafficking industry, and it needs to be taken seriously.
Why is it important for you to be involved in this gala that's happening on the 14th and just in these events?
Yeah, well, we definitely want to raise the awareness of Saceia's ministry, Providence Outreach. One of the best things that can be done is to reach out to people who are in if not directly the lifestyle, that are in work that's associated with the lifestyle, and that's dancing, and that's massage parlors, and that's escorting, and things like that, and to essentially let them know that they're loved and that they're cared about and that there are alternatives for them and that they don't have to be in that lifestyle, to give them options. So I love that work. I wish there were more like them, and I want to see their ability to do that work increase. So I'm very proud to support them in all that they do.
Saceia, why did you start this organization, this ministry?
Why? Well, the why is because I just want to see women that's trapped to be set free. See anyone. I mean, I have freedom in Christ, but I do have a little bit of a story of my own. And when I moved down here, actually, I was doing prison ministry and met a girl one Sunday in prison that had a barcode on the back of her neck. And she says, my pimp put this on me. And that just it just got my heart, really. And so we prayed, and God gave me told her, hey, this is my number now. This is my number, is what God told me to tell her. And you could just see, I don't know, all the drama or trauma or whatever it was, just leave her. And then I met some friends that was doing stuff with organizations downtown, and it just started yanking at my heart. And as I started volunteering and learning with those organizations, I come back to where I live, and I'm like, man, we have a problem, particularly with the spas. I have counted over 40 spas in the Webster, League City, Clear Lake, Friendswood area, Dickinson area. So it started with a prayer. There was a prayer and 2 volunteers, 2 of my friends, that we started. And we started going into the massage parlors is how we started. And then about a year later, we started going to the strip clubs. And it was just reaching out to the women saying, hey, we care about you. We love you. If I can do anything, let me know. Here's a number. If you want to talk or pray, or if you need out or resources, you give me a call. My desire is to see them come out and be set free from the chains, I call them chains, from everything that just binds them up, and see them free in Christ, because we do minister to them. We do pray for them. We've had several salvations throughout the years, and then girls come out, and several's become part of our organization too.
Stephanie, we've talked about this before, but I mean, you mentioned driving through the Webster, Clear Lake area and just counting. There's all of these places, and y'all can just tell by looking at them. I guess there's signs, and y'all just know.
Yeah, there are signs. There are things to recognize. But I also go online and read reviews, because unfortunately, men like to brag about what has happened in the spas. So I do research, and then, of course, I go in. I walk in myself and just kind of look around, see what I spot, ask about a massage. And there's been several that I've gone into and says, we don't do women. I'm like, oh, okay.
That's a sign, right?
Yeah, that's a sign right there.
Yeah, well, ATMs. We have spas that have ATMs. Well, why does a spa need ATM in them, but that's a key indicator, too.
And with that information, I guess if they're just out there in the open, they're operating, what do we do?
Right.
What can be done?
Well, draw attention to it. Law enforcement works, and they try and put together undercover operations to go into these businesses, but it's often very difficult to actually build a case where we can charge somebody with a crime. And what we don't want to do is go in there and charge the women who are being trafficked, right? Yeah. We want to go up that chain. The problem is so many times the women who are being trafficked are the only ones that law enforcement can get to, and they're either too scared or too desperate to provide any information that will lead us up that chain. So while law enforcement works on those cases, one of the best things we can do is support organizations like Providence, because a lot of times women do this kind of work because they don't think there's any other option. Yeah. They don't think that anyone cares about them or there's anything else they can do. And organizations like Providence make that possible to give them an out. At the same time, if you have one of these places in your community, you can put local pressure on it. You can go to your city council. You can talk about zoning and regulations and things like that, and health inspections. Lots of different ways to target these businesses. If law enforcement can't get in there, citizens often can, not to conduct clandestine raids, but to use the methods that we have in place lawfully to shut these places down. If nothing else, just draw attention to the fact that they're doing this in my community and we're not going to stand for it.
Stephanie, can we talk about the collective? What's going on?
Yeah. Well, I kind of want a little bit piggyback off of Jack's comment. Is there's another thing that can happen through our local governments called conditional use permits. So a conditional use permit would say, so if the city says, we understand that there's an issue, we're going to have this conditional use. So the conditional use would say no blacked out windows, no ATMs, no locked doors, no just servicing women. So what happens is that, like, let's say a conditional use permit's put in Webster, which like that would be phenomenal. So Webster, if you're listening to us, let's talk. And so what'll happen, like, let's say Saceia goes to that business and she sees the blackout windows, the ATM. What she does, she calls the city now and says, hey, there's an ordinance that they're breaking. And what happens now, the fire inspector will go in. So now instead of saying like, oh, we're the ones making this impact, now we're involving our city. And so now the city can come in and say, you're breaking this ordinance, we're going to shut you down until you fix these issues. So that's a great way.
It's grassroots.
Oh, absolutely. So when we're talking about Webster, we're talking about League City, Dickinson, Clear Lake, Friendswood, that if those cities, those mayors and the council would say, yeah, we want a conditional use permit for these illicit massage parlors, you'll see a lot of them shutting down, leaving, or they have to change to be under this conditional use permit. And so, but now you got the city involved. So that's another great thing. So if any of you are out there and work for the city government, we can definitely talk of how to get that done in your city, and that would be great.
But it was one of the fire marshals that went into one of our spas in Webster. They were open a whole 3 months. And they did have the ATM, but it was a fire marshal who actually went in there, saw what he saw, and within 30 days they were closed, and they have not opened back up. So I'm very grateful for those that did that.
Yeah, Webster is probably one of the most active police forces in this area against illicit massage parlors. And so we just thank you, Webster PD, if you're listening.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But yeah, so the collective event it's our third annual. Well, it's not like annual-ish kind of because we didn't have it in 2020 and 21. So, but I'll still say third annual. And it's just an awareness event for the community. And Jack's come to all of ours so far. Saceia's been at them. And so what we do is that we take the organizations in this area and we highlight them. So I know Bay Area Turning Point will be there. The Bridge, Saceia will be there. Maddie's Movement will be there. Break the Chains will be there. And so it's just organizations who are helping women either with homelessness, domestic violence, trafficking, exploitation. And it's a way to say, hey, community, you may not even know these people exist, but here they are in one room. Visit their table, see who they are. I'm working with HCA, trying to get HCA there as well, because it's really great to have a hospital and showing that even on the medical side of it, we have a hospital that is really helping women in these situations as well. And it's just an opportunity for people in the community who may not know these organizations even exist to come in and meet them, and then maybe want to volunteer, want to give, want to be a part of what's going on. This year, we're going to be talking about how trafficking and exploitation literally impacts the families in our communities. We're going to have 2 moms that are going to that are graciously coming and sharing their testimony about how their daughters had got connected in trafficking. And then we have a survivor that's going to come and share about her experience with grooming. We're going to show our short film Groomed and just kind of give like this online safety, like kind of like my whole parents, you can be parents, and just really making the community aware that it is happening here. And a lot of people think, oh, that's a big city problem or that's an issue outside of where I live, but it's not. We have kids that are right now being groomed online through some social media platform, and they're too scared to say something. Maybe their parents don't know how to talk with them about it. So this event kind of highlights like the 2 moms that are coming in sharing their stories are local moms. And so this isn't happening someplace else. And so if you want to come out, it's going to be January 26th at Dominion Church at 6400 Calder Road. And the doors open at 5:30. The event starts at 6, but come at 5:30 because that's when you're going to have time to meet Saceia and you can see Jack. He'll be there. And just come out and support your community and just get educated.
Yeah. So, all right. So if somebody wants to find information about that one, they can just hang out, follow you guys on social media, or how do they do that?
On Facebook. And so I know I'm posting a lot about the collective event on my Facebook. I think I've tagged Jack.
What's your Facebook?
Oh, well, Stephanie Stephanie Munson Clawson. Yeah. You can find me. Just Google me. I'm out there someplace.
Does the collective have a page? No?
It doesn't.
Okay.
No, I know.
But
You can
Providence
find it.
does.
We do.
Okay,
yeah.
Jack.
We have a Facebook page. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I have my own website, but I don't have the collective event on it just yet. But that's a good idea. Thanks, Jack.
Sorry.
Before the 4th annual, get a Facebook page.
Yes, for the 4th annual. But I also want to highlight another event that's happening tomorrow night at El Lago. El Lago City Hall is hosting an educational town hall about trafficking as well. So Chief Nunn, he's our new chief. So I live in El Lago.
Okay.
And he's our new chief, and he is really very proactive, wants to be involved in what's going on. And so we have an event. It's from 7 to 8:30 at El Lago City Hall. So a lot of things are going on this month. Like I said before, it's National Human Trafficking Awareness. And so come check out Saceia on the 14th.
You can get tickets on Eventbrite too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Finding Diamonds in the Darkness.
Yeah.
And on our Facebook page, Providence Outreach Ministries.
Come on. You can find her stuff.
Come on. I got it all over the place.
She does. And I'm just really, I think I just am really honored to work alongside people like Jack and Saceia who have the same heart as mine of wanting to see this issue exposed and exposure. And I know that we talked about that word quite a bit last year. And I really feel like the Lord is really setting up some really wonderful things to bring that exposure, like what's happened in Galveston County last year with that bust that happened. You talk about exposure. Then now we have Saceia that is finding more spas that she's going to be visiting, but she needs volunteers. And so if you're listening and you're like, man, like how it pierced your heart in the prison, how you pierced my heart back in 2014. If you're listening today and you're like, man, I think I'd like to step in and see what I could do, just reach out to Providence Outreach. She's looking for volunteers, and we would love to see you out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are there any requirements, or what do people need to be able to do?
Just to be able to talk to a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Just like we're talking here today. We try and the girls in that spas, most of them are from China, so we have to use a Google translator actually. So as long as you can kind of talk into a translator, you'll be okay. And but yeah, just be able to talk to a lady, even in the clubs. We just kind of, do you got kids? Most women have kids. That's a common denominator right there. Mm-hmm. If you can just talk to a lady or talk to a girl, that's all it takes.
Well, she does some really good training as well. So she has some human trafficking 101 classes coming up this year. She does some training of kind of like the do's and don'ts of outreach. But yeah, if you just have a heart and you're like, man, I don't like what I'm hearing today, and I want to be a part of seeing it exposed, then just come out.
How many people live in El Lago?
2,700, I think.
I got a speeding. I went through a stop sign. I went through a stop sign one time, and they were right on me, pulled me over. I got a ticket.
Lakeview Police. Oh, yeah, they'll get you. So it's 20 miles an hour, like through our little subdivision town.
It's a safe community. Is
it is a safe community, but no, that's where they generate a lot of their revenue is through tickets.
She knows.
No, I've never got a ticket, but it is a small town. And so, but that's what I think is even better. Chief Nunn just stepping in and just saying, nah, like we need to educate people. We need to have, we need to keep these other speeders out of here. Just kidding.
I'm pretty sure it was a stop sign. It was a stop sign. I used to work for AT&T as a technician. And so I was like in that area, and I don't know. I had a ticket.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Welcome to El Lago.
Thank you. Thank you. Saceia, is there anything else that you would like to share about the ministry or anything else at all?
Like you said, we need your help. I need volunteers. I want to enlarge our territory, so to speak. Eventually, I would love to go to like Texas City, Galveston, maybe Santa Fe area. But it does take volunteers. It does take a team. I want to call them partners. It does take partners to do this. So I need help. We need help going out. And of course, if you see something, like you said, if you see something, say something. We can put that spot on our list and start praying for it, because, God changes everything. And that's just prayer is the root of our organization. I pray about everything. And if God doesn't say go, I don't do it. There's been a time or two where I went out, stepped out, and I wasn't supposed to. It didn't feel good.
I was going to say, do you ever get in those situations where it's like a safety concern for yourself or anything?
I have never felt unsafe. You know, actually, in the business world, I have a full-time job, and I start carrying mace with me when I go into some of my stores because I'm a business consultant, because I don't feel safe in those, but I feel so much safer in the strip clubs and in the brothels. But I've never felt unsafe. We've been watched, and we know we've been watched, so we be very careful how I act, what I say, how I react to the girls, because I don't want to cause any friction. I don't want to raise, any red flags.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I've always felt safe.
Yeah, well, that's good. And I would say being watched, because those people that are in charge or making the decisions, they probably wouldn't like it, stopping the girls from doing, making them money or whatever.
Well, and that's something we do not get in a customer's way either. If a girl's talking to a customer, like, we give out gift bags. That's our arts breaker, and the gift bag can contain anything that's donated to the ministry. Mm-hmm. And so this is for you, and we walk away. Or if customers come into a massage parlor and we're talking, we back up. We tell the girls, "Hey, we love you. We'll see you later," and we leave, because we do not want to interrupt business to the respect of asking us not to come back again. We want to continue back so we can continue raising, of course, awareness, but creating relationships. Mm-hmm. Because when that time comes where that girl says, "I need help, I want out," she knows she can call me because she can trust me. Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's good. Stephanie, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that's one of the cool things about what they do is people might have the misimpression that they go in and kick down the doors and do raids. No, it's espionage and guerrilla warfare, right? You're going in and you're building relationships with the victims so that they can be free later, and you're giving them a chance to come out from under that. And that's awesome, because that's happening right under the eyes of the wicked, and they don't even know that it's happened.
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes it's just like a touch, or like planting a seed, of just showing love and hey, there's a different way, and then somebody else comes in, and it may not be, Providence or whatever, but they'll remember that.
Yeah, and we do add a card in our bags. Every bag gets a card, so there is a number and an email address on there, and I've gotten phone calls and emails, just starting conversation.
That's good.
Yeah.
Stephanie, is there anything else you'd like to share?
Let me go through my brain. No, I think that's it. So the event tomorrow in El Lago at 7 at the City Hall. Then Saceia's, please come out to Saceia's. I think you're going to be very impressed with what they've done, where they're going. What does 23? She's going to give some highlights of what she's done in 22, kind of where she's going at in 23, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so, but just come out and just see the impact that she's making. I think it'll really open your eyes to what you're capable of doing, because we're not special.
No.
Like, there's nothing special about us other than we said yes.
I always say I'm a plain Jane kind of girl. I'm a hometown kind of girl.
Me too.
Yeah.
And
God said do this.
And you said yes. And sometimes our yes is uncomfortable. But I think the uncomfortability of it is what pushes you to want to do it more, because when we're comfortable, we're stagnant. When we're comfortable, we're stale. When we're comfortable, we're just rooted here and we're not doing anything else. But the Lord has a really wonderful way of making us uncomfortable, and then that's what gets us to move. And so if you're kind of like, oh gosh, that sounds weird, no, I say come on out, and you'll walk away with what I call like a Jesus high. Mm-hmm. Like, after we do outreach, you're just like, oh my gosh, like, did you hear that? And had this conversation, and you're so excited because you know that the Lord is working through you, and He's going to water those seeds. Yeah. And so I think that's what I love the most about what we do. And then we have the collective event on January 26th. And I just want to say thank you again to Dominion Church for hosting us. They're so gracious to kind of let me take over their whole church. That's my home church. And so I love them, Pastor Greg. And we're just grateful that even churches, right, are opening their doors to this issue. Yours is being hosted at a church as well.
Gateway was wonderful in providing a space for us. And the very first conference that Providence ever did was at Gateway like 8-9 years ago. I don't remember. I'm like, well, how?
Full circle.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then just thank you to Jack. And we've connected, quite a few years now, 3 or 4 years, maybe 2 or 3 years. And we just went to his office and we just sat down. My husband and I were like, look, this is who we are. And this is what we do. And I remember
Won me over.
Yeah. I remember him asking like, well, what do you need me to do? And we're like, nothing. We just need you to show up to stuff. That's it. Just show up. And I think that impresses people a lot because of your heart to serve your community and your heart to want to see a better community. And so it's really nice when we get law enforcement involved, we get churches involved, we get businesses, and if we're all saying the same thing, and if we're all saying we don't like this in our community, then that's when that change starts happening. And it starts in Jack's office and it rolls down to us, and then we do what we can do the best through the Lord, really.
Well, you use the word community. It takes a community to break this. Yeah. I mean, and to make a difference. It takes a community. Yeah. So I'm all about community.
Me too.
Yeah.
us too. And then thank you always for giving us this platform to speak from and making people aware, and it's great to have a part of our community in KHEA, and we really couldn't do it because we can post all we want on social media, but now we're reaching an audience that wouldn't normally know where to find us. And I think, Jack, you were up for re-election last year. Mm-hmm. Is this your last go around?
Well, that remains to be seen. I'm happy to be able to serve for another 4 years.
Well, good. Well, if you're in Galveston
is there anything
County,
else you want to announce? Anything else? Like what's next after that?
I know, right? But if you're in Galveston County, man, really support the DA because he is really doing some wonderful things. His office works hard to take cases, to prosecute them. And he does it with such an amazing heart because he truly wants to see transformation happen. And so just support your local law enforcement, support your local DA. And so when he comes around for re-election, Jack Roady.
Yeah, we need people like him.
We do. Yeah, we need people like Jack. And so, so just join us at one of these events, and we would love to shake your hand and get you more involved.
Is there anything else you would like to share?
Well, I would just add, people listening to this, it's easy to sit at home and say somebody ought to do something about it. Well, these people are doing something about it, and all it takes is for somebody to come alongside and say, how can I help? And then you become part of fixing it rather than just complaining about it. So if you think somebody ought to do something about it, that might just be you. And there are people who are already doing it who need your help. So come out and get in touch with them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys hanging out today.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
This is KHEA Radio, 99.5 FM.